Most people hear debt and think credit cards, stress, and falling behind. But the wealthy use debt like a tool. And if you understand the difference between consumer debt and asset-backed debt, you'll understand why some people get richer faster without working harder. This is a business and finance breakdown. No guru hype. In the next 10 minutes, I'll explain the exact mechanism. Borrow against assets instead of selling. Where people do this: stocks, real estate, businesses. The biggest risk: forced selling. And 4, a practical checklist you can use in the US, UK, or Canada. Here's the global rule. When you sell an asset, you usually trigger taxes and you reduce your compounding base. When you borrow against an asset, you often get cash without selling, so your asset can keep compounding. That's the entire game. Most banks don't lend big money because they like you. They lend because they can secure the loan with something valuable. So wealthy people structure their lives around building collateral, investment portfolios, property equity, and business cash flow. In the US and Canada especially, a common tool is a securities-based line of credit. You borrow against stocks and bonds in a non-retirement account without liquidating them. Schwab literally describes this as accessing the value of your securities without selling them, and even calls out liquidity without a tax hit. This is one reason borrowing is attractive. No sale, no forced realization of gains at that moment. Another version is margin borrowing. Fidelity defines borrowing on margin as taking an interest-bearing loan secured by securities you own in your brokerage account. Same idea, get liquidity without selling, but margin can be far less forgiving when markets drop. This is the nightmare scenario. Your collateral drops, your broker demands more equity, and you might be forced to sell at the worst possible time. Fidelity describes a margin call as a demand to increase equity in your account, typically by depositing cash, securities, or liquidating positions. Here's what the wealthy do differently. They don't borrow at the maximum. They keep buffers. They borrow against diversified assets, and they plan repayment sources before they borrow. Business income, rents, dividends, or planned sales in good markets. Real estate is the most common used debt to build wealth engine globally, because mortgages let you control a large asset with a smaller upfront amount. And depending on the country, real estate may also come with tax features, deductions, depreciation rules, deferrals, etc. The leverage part is global. The tax treatment varies massively between the US, Canada, and the UK, so always verify locally. Real estate debt can create wealth through 3 engines: cash flow, rent minus expenses, asset appreciation, market growth over time, loan paydown, tenants help pay the mortgage, building your equity. But leverage cuts both ways. Vacancy, rate resets, repairs, those hit harder when you're highly leveraged. In the US, there's a widely discussed play called buy, borrow, die. Buy assets that rise, borrow against them instead of selling, and when the owner dies, certain rules can reduce capital gains taxes for heirs. Even Yale's Budget Lab has written that current tax law can favor borrowing over selling appreciated assets. One reason this behavior exists: if you're in the UK or Canada, don't copy-paste the tax assumptions. If you want an actionable framework, think in levels. Level 1, toxic debt, high interest, no asset, no cash flow, credit card debt used for lifestyle. Level 2, neutral debt, student loans or a basic car loan can be useful, but doesn't automatically build wealth. Level 3, asset-backed debt, mortgage on a rental, portfolio line of credit, business loan tied to real revenue. Level 4, strategic debt, debt used to buy or expand cash-flowing assets, with buffers, diversified collateral, and a plan. If you do one thing after this video, do this checklist before you ever borrow against assets. What's the purpose of the loan? If it's to buy a depreciating lifestyle item, stop. What's the repayment plan? Not, I'll figure it out. Actual sources: salary, rents, dividends, business cash flow. What's your buffer? If markets drop 20–40%, what happens? Can you add collateral or pay down? Is the rate fixed or variable? If rates spike, does the plan still work? What's the forced sale risk? For margin-style borrowing, understand margin calls and maintenance requirements. Are you borrowing against one concentrated asset? Concentration is where smart leverage becomes blow-up leverage. The 3 mistakes I see constantly. People borrow to look rich, not to build wealth. People borrow too close to the limit, no margin for error. People ignore interest rate risk and liquidity risk until it's too late. If you want me to help you apply this safely, I'm going to give you something actionable. Comment checklist and tell me your country, US, UK, or Canada, and whether you're building wealth through stocks or real estate. I'll reply with the exact questions you should ask your bank or broker before using asset-backed borrowing, and I'll pin the best responses. And if you want part 2, I'll break down real examples, how portfolio-backed lending works in practice, when it's smarter to sell instead of borrow, and the risk controls professionals use. Subscribe if you want business and finance strategies with the boring details that actually matter.